following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break.
with Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Friday, September 17th, 2021, Season 17, Episode number 23. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Nick, give me a 23.
Kevin Mathis.
That's a good one, actually. That's a really good one.
I almost went with Dwayne Goodrich, but I decided to go with
Let's go with Kevin Mathis on that
What's
one.
a good 23 for you? You have a good choice?
Like Darian Thompson has worn 23 the whole frickin' time I've covered this team. I know that's an exaggeration, but barely. I don't know. Did Tyler Patman wear 23? I think he was 26.
Yeah, I thought
20, I thought.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's one of those that had a couple.
It's not a number with an illustrious history.
See, I
No, it's
forgot
not.
that he wasn't here at that time. So when I said you have a good choice for 23, he didn't really get the Shard choice was 23.
That was years
yeah.
before my time.
No, years.
It was too.
2 years before your time?
When was the last year he played here?
I don't remember. He was in the 08 draft, so yeah, probably. But like whenever he got the autograph from Michael Vick.
I mean, I remember that. I remember that just
remember
as
watching
as
that
a
on
football
TV?
fan. I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of weird.
That's weird. Okay.
I like the Shard. You
was.
know
He
what?
was a good dude.
He was ahead of his time because now, man, it's
Everybody's getting autographs and trading jerseys and all kinds of stuff after the game. It's a trade show out there.
Yeah.
Following the guy into the locker room to do it is kind of weird, though. That
Maybe a
usually
little bit, but
happens
still.
like out on the field. Whatever.
Yeah, usually, but whatever.
Robert Williams, by the way, is my favorite 23.
Oh,
Robert Williams. Our
Robert
producer
Williams.
Chris Beam says Robert Williams.
Yeah.
Okay.
He played like 87 to 92, 93. I think he's coaching somewhere in Dallas. Really good guy. Jesuit.
Okay. All right. Let's jump into it. We got a lot we're going to get into today. I'm going to do this as kind of our typical format on a Friday. I'm going to throw out some storylines to you guys, and I'm going to try to hit different storylines around this team. Some have to do with the offense, some have to do with the defense, some have to do with special teams, and get your opinions on what you think is going to happen, what you think the current state is, just your general overall thoughts on these different storylines as we head into this game. But before we get to that, I want to catch up on a couple of injuries for the Chargers. We haven't talked a lot about their team. Obviously, the Cowboys are dealing with a lot of stuff when it comes to players that are not going to be available to them this weekend. But the Chargers, I think they have two guys that are very, very interesting that are on their injury report that have not practiced all week. Let's start first with tackle Brian Bulaga. He has a groin back issue, has not practiced all week. How does that affect the Cowboys as they prepare to take on the Chargers?
Well, I mean, it would, they're looking at it like, well, the Cowboys have lost some defensive ends too. Definitely D-Law, probably Randy Gregory. So, it's going to look like a preseason game, really. I mean, it'll look like a second preseason game with their backup going up against Dorrance Armstrong or Basham. So
Yeah,
it's
it's a tough break because I mean we're sitting here. Joey Bosa's going against Terrence Steele, and that's the predominant storyline in terms of matchups. And the guy that can't play for the Chargers plays a position where DeMarcus Lawrence isn't going to be there because DeMarcus doesn't move. He very rarely moves from left end, so that would have been his guy. So that's a bad break that you don't get to take advantage of a possible absence.
See, I look at it the other way. I look at it like as the equalizer because it starts with the Cowboys. So I look at it like, oh my God, they're going to get any pass rush? It's like, well, yeah, probably because I mean, if you look at Dorrance Armstrong and the way he's played and the way he played in the preseason, the stuff he did in that Arizona game, you're impressed by it. But then you kind of have to be like, well, they're not really playing against their starters. But if that's he looked great in training camp too, going up sometimes against Tyron and Lyell, sometimes against the backups. So I would feel better about it, from that. I mean, maybe no one's ever said glass half full for me, but
I get the point that you're trying to make.
I
but
just look at it from that angle.
I get the point you're making, but having DeMarcus Lawrence, like having a guy of his caliber going against a backup, you have a chance to wreck their game plan. I don't know. I don't trust Dorrance Armstrong and Terrell Basham to be that good.
Yeah, the difference is you kind of, and I agree with both of you guys. The difference is you look at Dorrance Armstrong and what we've seen so far, you would think, okay, I feel good. If somebody told me, hey, Dorrance is going to have a sack in this game, I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Dorrance will get a sack or make a play in this game in his pass rush. Direct their game plan, I don't know if I'd go that far, right? Where you would think if it's DeMarcus, maybe you could wreck their game plan.
You know, this reminds me back the last time the Cowboys, I guess it was the last time they played at the Chargers in a regular season game. It was, I believe, 2013, and every offensive lineman on their teams was out. It was
matter
just like,
a whole lot.
Oh, it's going to be a field day. And it was. I think Rivers threw for like 400 yards, and
They
half
couldn't
of it to
freaking
Gates.
cover Danny Woodhead. Sean Lee pick-sixed Rivers.
Hall of Famer Danny Woodhead. That's awesome. Okay.
They took a 21-10 lead into halftime, and they lost like 30-21.
And it was one of those where, like, you know, it was just a mash unit for their offensive line, but they figured it out. So, you know, I remember that game a lot when I think about situations where you're like, oh, how is this team going to do this? Or, you know, and a lot of times it's been with Washington, you know, the last few years, Washington's offensive line's been a train wreck and all that. And, you know, a lot of it was, you know, Trent Williams was out and all that. But that kind of teams seem to kind of figure it out.
Yeah, but the one thing I do like about this is I think Dorrance Armstrong is the kind of guy that he probably looks at this as, okay, here's my opportunity. This is my big opportunity. And the matchup actually favors him in this instance. So let's see what he does. Sure. I'm interested to see what he can do in this kind of situation. If he's going to be the guy that's going to be on that side. That's the
I
other part to it,
feel
too.
like Dorrance is more likely to be on the right. Basham said yesterday he prefers to be on the left. So... And he talked about Bulaga. He was like, I was looking forward to going against him.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had a great game against him last year. I looked it up. He was like, I had a lot of fun playing him last year. I hit the quarterback a lot in that game. He was credited with 2 tackles and 1 quarterback hit in that game. So, I mean, I think guys have a way of embellishing a little bit.
And it might feel a little different when you're playing too.
True.
Like, you know, the stats say one thing, but you get a little scare on the quarterback. You might know it, and the quarterback might know it. You might not actually
might
have
not show
registered
up
a
on
hit.
the stat sheet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
fair.
it happens. It happens. All right, one other guy that I thought was interesting, Chris Harris, their cornerback. Chris Harris Jr. Has a shoulder injury. He has not practiced all week. Once again, when you think about the San Diego defense, or from my perspective, I look at this defense, and I think the passing defense is the best thing that they do, and he's a part of that. Without him, how much does that change their ability to cover this high potent?
Good. I feel better about it since I'm not the only one that's done it.
What?
So.
Oh, did you say San Diego?
Did I say San Diego?
Yeah.
Los Angeles Chargers. I'm so sorry. Los
hard.
Angeles Chargers. Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Honestly, I'm not sure how much he's. I mean, was he their starter, Chris Harris Jr.?
I think
Yeah,
he's listed on their depth chart.
He's one of
as a
their
starter.
outside
Yeah.
starters. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's same type of deal where like it's like which news did you hear first? You know, and from my perspective, it's like, well, they lost Gallup. Okay, well, let's and then it's like, well, if they lose a guy too, then it kind of equalizes. I think Cedric Wilson could probably go up against their backup, or however it's going to shake out. So, it's kind of those 2 losses there are kind of playing off of each other. So now, if the Chargers can lose one of their pass rushers. Preferably Bosa, then to
Let's
offset.
not wish injury on anyone.
No,
just
you can
just on the way to the stadium. Just get lost.
just get lost.
It is fun the way these mirror each other because Nasir Adderley's out as well.
Right.
Well, I mean, he hasn't been ruled out for the game, but he hasn't practiced yet this week. If you don't practice Thursday, that's usually not good. So Cowboys are having some safety issues as well. Adderley's obviously not. He's not the star. Derwin James is, but
he was on the injury report earlier in the week. He did practice as of yesterday.
I think Derwin James is a guy that'll probably be on the injury report every week.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's gonna affect how he whether or not he plays.
Yeah.
But.
So let's go ahead and move into some of the storylines that the Cowboys will face. Actually, we're going to take a quick break before we do that. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about this offense. We'll start with the offense first and go through a couple of storylines for this game. We'll do that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
For just $20, you can join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life. Join now, get your fan pack, exclusive benefits, and more. Visit dallascowboys.com/united for details and join today.
Welcome back. We are in the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're going to talk a little bit about the storylines of this game. Cowboys versus Chargers on Sunday afternoon. It'll be I think a 3:30 kick time here Central time zone. Let's start with the offense. Lyle being replaced by Terrence Steele facing Joey Bosa. Is Dak good enough to make that doesn't become a big issue for this offense and their ability to still be able to move the ball?
I think so.
Yes. And it's not just Dak either. Kellen Moore as well. Kellen Moore is smart enough to design a game plan that will not allow that to happen. We talk about this a lot because tackle has been a problem a lot. Mm-hmm. 2017 against Atlanta is an aberration. Like that should not be. And I get it. It was painful to watch and it is burned into people's brains. But that's not what happens. Nick just pointed it out when they played the Chargers. Like, this happens to teams all the time. This is a 100% injury league, to quote Terrell Basham from yesterday. It's going to happen to everybody, and 95% of the time, teams don't let it completely derail them like that. Dak is good. He is mobile. Kellen Moore is smart. They'll be, I don't know if they're going to win, but they'll be fine in the sense that they'll be able to move the ball and score points.
Nick, if you take us back to last year when Dak was playing and he didn't have both those tackles at some points, were the tackles as big of a problem as they were later in the year when Dak wasn't there?
Yeah, well, they had their moments of hurting the offense, and they in the Rams game, I believe Terrence Steele played, and he played pretty well based off our expectations. But at the end of the game, the last drive, he gives up a big sack. He gave up a sack to Myles Garrett that forced the fumble. I think he had a couple of plays where the whole offensive line did against Atlanta early on. And so, they have their moments. You hope that they don't happen at the wrong time. And so, with Bosa, I think with any of those speed rushers that love to get up the field, you got to take advantage of it. It's a chess match. On those plays that he wants to get up the field, that's where you can maybe get some runs inside, trap him, gash him in there. So it'll be up to Kellen Moore, Dak, and all that to really figure out how to offset that. And I think Terrence Steele's up for the challenge. He's played a lot of football. He's an athletic guy, and he's gonna this will be an outstanding opportunity for him.
The Chargers defense allowed 124 rush yards in week 1. And Dallas, on the flip side, never really got their rushing attack established. Does Dallas take advantage of the run this week?
I don't like the phrasing "take advantage of," just because I do think, the Chargers have the capability to stop it, and that's. Who was talking about this yesterday? Were we
Bucky
talking?
probably.
Maybe it was Bucky.
talked about it.
And he was just like, they're gonna. Yeah, it was Bucky. You're right. Just like they're gonna key on Zeke. That's everything. I'm like, well, surely one of these days somebody's gonna be like,
Right. I don't know if I agree with that. Like,
one of these days somebody's gonna be like, man, this quarterback's capable of putting 400 on us. Maybe we should deal with that.
Are doing that? Like, do we think teams? If you were a defensive coordinator, you were getting ready for the Cowboys. Would your first priority be Zeke? Now, let's also be honest that in the NFL, I think every defensive coordinator, step one every week is you got to stop the run, because if you can make a team one-dimensional, that's your better chance. But just thinking about where you're keying, I think Dak is the more important piece, right?
I think about there's an interesting precedent here, and I know Brandon Staley's not calling the defense. He's not the defensive coordinator for the Chargers, but he was the DC for that Rams game last year. And they played a boatload of too high and dared Dak to take deep shots. And like the one time he got it done, they called offensive pass interference on Michael Gallup. It was a
dumb call.
It was a dumb call, but he averaged less than 7 yards per attempt in that game. So I wouldn't be shocked if that is a similar approach here, where you're like, we'll let you run the ball. We're just not going to let you just kill us with big plays. Having said that, roundabout point, but like they have the personnel to stop the run if they want to. Joey Bosa's great against the run. We talked about Linval Joseph. I don't know how good Jerry Tillery's been. I don't have a good read on his career, but he's a first-round pick in there in the middle. And then they drafted Kenneth Murray last year to kind of, very similar. Not comparing him to Micah Parsons, but a guy who can clean up and make life easier on your defensive line. So if that's what they want to do, they probably can. It's just a matter of I tend to doubt that they want to. I think they'd rather take big plays from Dak away.
Yeah, you're right. Stopping the run, it's always going to be a key for defensive coordinators, and I think that they do that. But the thing is about the passing yards and the passing attempts and all that with Dak. They were there, but I don't think you would say that they took a ton of shots down the field. So. It was a passing thing. I think Dave said it earlier in the week. I agree with it. It was a different way to run. It was through the pass. It was still, outside passes, quick ball control, moving the chains. So, you look at the stat sheet, it's like, wow. But it's not like he's throwing it down the field 58, 60 times.
I wrote this in my column yesterday. He threw 10 balls that didn't go past the line of scrimmage. 70 yards of offense through balls that traveled 4 feet or less, or 10 feet or less. So that's an element of it for sure. And Kellen said that on Monday. It's like people kind of get hung up on, well, Zeke only ran it 11 times. That means you didn't care about moving the ball that way. No. That's not true. Watch
and they control the time of possession, so that's a big part of that too. But not only won it, they controlled it.
But as I keep reiterating, when you get down inside, it's not even in the red zone. I'm talking about goal to go. Get inside the 10. Something's got to happen here. You got to figure out the ways to run it. You got to figure out passes that you can complete down there, because you want to be safe. You don't want to throw picks down there, but you also want to figure out how to get the job done. If CD's the jump ball guy, I don't love the play because I don't really think it's a 50-50 ball. I don't seem like it's always 50%. It seems like it's a less, percentage play than that. But if they can't run it, and they're not going to run it, they got to figure out ways to score, because they're going to end up kicking field goals, and we saw what happened there.
Yeah. All right, Michael Gallup is out in a week where they face a really good secondary. Does Dallas continue the same level of explosiveness without him?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm weirdly not worried about not having Gallup. And that's not a knock on him, but you still have CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
And then Cedric Wilson is about as good as you could hope for from your fourth receiver. Not many teams have a fourth and fifth receiver with as much experience as these two. So between all those things, and then the opportunities that'll be there for guys like the tight ends because of all the attention paid to the receivers, Chris Harris might not play in this game. Yeah, I mean, plays will be there. I think
and
plays should be there with this group as long as everybody's not even everybody. As long as Dak's healthy, plays should be there against almost everybody.
I think this is a really big opportunity for him and for Cedric Wilson and for the Cowboys to evaluate him moving forward. I mean, he'll be a free agent next year, and he could be a Swiss Army knife type of player. I think him as a slot receiver might give you even more opportunities than what you would get with Gallup. Gallup is a better receiver, and he's a better down the field threat. But this guy, as a third receiver, I mean, he can do some dynamic things kind of underneath. I think he's a good slot guy. If you want to run trick plays, we've seen it with him. We've seen him he's got an arm. He can do some things. I think he can be dynamic in a different type of way too. So I don't think you're losing a lot there.
All right, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. First question: they both starting defensive tackles are presumably out. Does Dallas find a way to get pressure, and how?
I mean,
defensive end. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, they'll find a way. They'll find a way.
To find a way. Will they?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think so. I mean, just go back to training camp. Just go to training camp. No, I'm not even talking about on the field. Just put yourself back in training camp at a press conference when Dan Quinn was up there. Walks in there, with his camouflage Cowboys shirt on, and he's just cussing here and there, but does it in like his own cool way. He's the dude, man. He's the dude. He'll get it. He'll get it right. He'll figure it out. It's not going to be perfect. He'd like to have his weapons and all that stuff, but he'll figure out a way. It's just his demeanor, his personality. He got it. He figured it out when the Cowboys were facing Atlanta. I mean, some of those guys that you never heard of, they'll get to the quarterback. They'll get there. I don't think it'll be. I mean, they'll have some issues. They might have to blitz a lot more, but he's too aggressive not to get to the quarterback.
I just think it's going to take some outside the box thinking, and I do think Dan Quinn's capable of that. But everybody blitzes more than Rod Marinelli, but Dan Quinn's not known as this like crazy exotic blitzer either. That hasn't been a hallmark of his defenses. But I think that's what it's going to take. Micah Parsons did a lot of work with the edge rushers yesterday in practice during like team fundamentals. Excuse me. Which we saw during training camp, but during training camp and during game planning for a week are different things. So if he's going to rush off the edge more, or if they're going to blitz him more, I think that's a good idea. Safety blitzes if you can get them. I have a hard time believing Dorrance Armstrong and Terrell Basham are going to. They'll win. I mean, you pressure the quarterback in every game, but not on a consistent enough basis without some help from somebody else.
Yeah, and the tough thing is you look at that defensive front, which we saw again last night, that Washington defensive front, and they weren't able to get a lot of pressure against that team. So it's going to be a tough uphill battle no matter what. That offensive line is good. Even if they don't have Brian Bulaga, you would expect they're still going to be pretty good. So it's going to be a challenge.
And Herbert is an athletic guy. He's not even sneaky athletic.
Right, yeah.
He's an athlete, and so he can get
6'6" athlete.
He can get away from the pressure. I'm nervous about them drawing up boots for him where it's just a slow rolling play where he can get on the move. So even if the rusher comes free, you're not going to catch him before he throws the ball.
Yeah.
And Allen or Mike Williams, whoever it is, just has 6 seconds to get behind his coverage. That's what I worry about.
That sounds like a nightmare. All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. We got another question on the defense, and then we'll talk about special teams. We really have not talked about the kicker much this week, so we're going to spend a little time talking about the kicker in the final segment. We'll be right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Get on-demand Cowboys content on your home TV. Get the latest player interviews, video podcasts like this one, documentaries, and so much more. Download Cowboys now on your connected TV today.
Yeah, that would be on the Roku, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire. You can get that device, and I'm able to get that app, and then you can watch us from your television, from your couch. It's
pretty awesome.
Pretty cool thing.
50 inches of me. I don't know. Like, I'm looking at this camera like, oh, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
It actually works, Dave. It actually works. I watch it at night, and it actually works. It's a good thing. It actually works. All right, let's move on. We got this final segment. We're going to finish up. We got one more question on the defense, and we'll talk about special teams before we end the show. On defense, Dallas could be without Donovan Wilson. Who gets those snaps, and who do you expect, or do you expect it to be a noticeable loss if he's not out there?
I actually asked, because we talked about this yesterday. I asked, or maybe it was Wednesday, but I asked Mike McCarthy, can Malik Hooker play strong safety? Are these things interchangeable enough that it doesn't matter? And obviously, he's not going to tell me the game plan, but he more or less was like, it has to be when you're in this circumstance, and on top of that, we have to find ways to play to our players' strength, and that's what makes me curious. Because I'm not saying like Malik Hooker's afraid to tackle or anything like that, but that his game has always been as like a deep coverage guy, and DeMonte Casey as well. I mean, we've made a lot of jokes about the Zeke play from week 2 last year. You don't want him coming down into the box to deal with those types of plays. So I am curious about how that works and how they're going to use those guys. Jaron Kearse will be part of it. If Donovan can't go, I assume he won't.
Well, Casey's hurt too. I mean, he got hurt in practice yesterday with a thigh injury, and we'll see what happens.
Now, it did say limited, right?
Limited because he was practicing and
earlier?
he got hurt. I mean, D-Law was limited as well.
Yeah.
2 days ago when he hurt his foot. I mean, he was limited because he
left practice.
Because he couldn't finish. So you have to – and I know they don't really practice today, so it's going to be hard to kind of tell. But, I mean, I watched Kazee. Also, I'm with you. I don't think Donovan Wilson – is going to play, so that means Malik Hooker jumps in there. Jaron Kearse will obviously get a lot of snaps, and this might be the
Darian
first time.
Thompson's out hurt too, right?
Yeah, not Israel Mukuamu will get a jersey this week.
He's
got to play.
Yeah, and I'm thinking because I remember looking that they got so many lists now. One of them is a practice squad injury list.
No idea that was a thing until I saw.
But not only Darian Thompson's on it, but Deontay Burton is on it, which many people that watched the last preseason game didn't think he would still be around. But he had a tough one. But he's a big physical type corner that can maybe help. So I'm thinking, do they have another safety they can elevate? Because who are your elevations? I mean, you got to elevate people. I think
Sprinkle has to be one of them.
Sprinkle will be one of them, but I mean, I'm trying to think of the practice squad that they have. Like, do they have a guy that you can elevate, like a safety?
Kyron Brown is on the practice squad. Could elevate Tyler Coyle if you think he's ready for it. Those are the only healthy DBs.
Tyler Coyle, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but he was one of the guys, 3 or 4 guys that just went through all of training camp, and you really never talked about it ever. Like not once. Not good play, bad play. Who gave up that ball? Who picked that off? Nothing. And honestly, for the first 2 or 3 weeks until Hard Knocks came out, Kamara was in that way with me. I kind of forgot he was even there. And so until Hard Knocks did the story, and I didn't realize he was going to be a guy that they liked, and he might play this game.
I think he might. I mean, he probably has to be active between what he does on special teams and the fact that you just don't have very many edge rushers if something happens.
Yeah. The tricky part here is that a lot of these injuries now, the way the rules are set up, especially with COVID, and even this IR, is that when you get injuries, they're not just like, well, he's the inactive guy. Even when Zach was out or Randy is out with COVID, like they're on a different list. So if you're inactive, like McQuaman was inactive,
right?
I'm trying to think like who's going to be somebody that's inactive but still on the list. I guess Donovan Wilson would.
Wilson would be inactive. Yeah, I mean if you're on the COVID list, you don't count toward the roster.
Right.
DeMarcus has obviously been moved to injured reserve.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of. It's like once you're inactive, like it's hard to kind of.
It's
harder.
harder.
Get off of that.
It's harder than it's ever been to figure out the inactives, but.
That's why we don't do it anymore.
No, it's just not.
You know, when the
not a great exercise at this point.
When COVID is not a thing anymore, we can go back to
Maybe.
it, but it's just not. It's not worth the headache at this point.
When's that happening?
Yeah, for real.
Jeez.
It would obviously be bad if DeMonte Casey can't play,
right?
But it would make it easier to figure that out because I think you just play Malik Hooker at free and Jaron Kearse as your strong instead of kind of having to juggle the three because I think. You probably have to. It's almost like a timeshare between Hooker and Kearse right now. Because, like I said, I'm curious how that's going to play. I would be shocked if Hooker and Casey, assuming he can play, if they just play 100% of the snaps together.
But Kearse played some last week too.
Yeah,
didn't he?
that's what I'm saying.
So he's still going to kind of be in the mix. You would think.
But it's a larger role now if Donovan can't play.
Let's also factor this into it. Like, I mean, you do have a guy on your roster.
I knew that's where you were going. I was just waiting for you to bring it up.
I'm just saying.
But is that going to be this week? Like,
why not? You got everybody else that's banged up.
But he hasn't had the work.
Keanu O'Neal, Giddy. I don't mean just run him out of the tunnel as your safety. I'm talking about creative packages on third down that
he's playing down by the line of scrimmage.
He's your safety. Plus, you can put Leighton in the game with.
Let's play the whole game in quote unquote dime with Neal as a third safety and Parsons as a linebacker. I'm in
all day.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd be fine playing that personnel grouping.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're talking about a running back that's just gonna really hurt you as a runner so much. So I think they can get it done that way. Keep them in a dime or nickel package and try to stop the run like you can.
I love that idea, and I'm upset that I didn't think about it before. Good job.
All right, let's talk real quick about the special teams. Earlier this week, John Fossil did have some thoughts on Greg Zuerlein and his game against Tampa Bay. What did he say?
According to everybody, he's healthy. I wasn't convinced by Zuerlein himself. They were just like, are you healthy? He was like, yeah, I feel. He was like, I feel good. I think he was like, I feel good enough to kick. And I was like, not the answer I'm looking for.
No,
not the answer I'm looking for.
You know, I've noticed that when I've interviewed him, last year and stuff. I mean, I don't know. There's something about his answers. He's just not giving you exactly what you want, but he's always been willing to do it, and he just kind of with kickers. Anytime you're talking to him, it's something good or bad happened. You know what I mean? You don't just say, hey, let's talk about your 3 extra points and the 31-yard field goal you made. Yeah. I mean, it's always either you missed it, why'd you miss it,
or you had a game
why'd
winner.
You made it, and it's just all about
mechanics. There are people on every beat that want to talk to the kicker about like the mechanics of the hold, and I'm just like, oh my God, I don't care.
Because with a miss, nothing is good for them to say.
Right.
They just missed the kick.
Yeah.
They just missed it because they're not going to say, well, yeah, the hold, he didn't get the hold down like I wanted it to. He had it tilted a little bit. It was really on him. Laces were in. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Or the snap was way too high. They don't do that. Those guys are kind of they work together. They practice together, always there. So they're not going to really do that to each other. So talking about a missed kick or whatever, and if he says he's hurt, and then he'll come back and say, well, there's no excuses. So there's really no point in ever talking to him. And even when they make game-winning kicks, it's like, I just do the same operation, I get it down, focus, so we're focused on the kick, try to block everything out. So let's just not talk to kickers anymore. Nothing good.
If Zerline hits a walk-off, I'm just going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to write about him. I don't want to. I'm going to write about something else
Which
instead.
is, you know what's so ironic that I said all this is that I had a mini argument in the press box last week. I don't know if y'all even heard all that because we were going down and it was the media was trying to figure out who they wanted for the podium, and I was going to get 4 or 5 guys.
I did remember that.
And I was like, okay, and they're driving. This whole thing's happening. And I'm like, okay, who's getting Zerline? And they're like, I don't think we're going to get him. I'm like, we're not going to get Zerline. He's missed 2 bad kicks. They're driving. He's going to make a game-winning. I thought it was going to be game-winning field goal. And then we're not going to talk to him. Like his whole career just went in a circle in 1 3-hour span. I'll get him, and then, of course, then here I am 4 days later, like, what do we talk to?
Zerline says he's healthy. He says he had a really bad game. Fossil said he just missed the kicks. It was bad mechanics, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't health-related. He was kicking short of the goal line on purpose, not because he couldn't get there on kickoffs, which is ironic because their kickoff coverage was bad.
You got to remember this about Fossil. It's not the worst thing in the world, but he's got his kids. And then he's got, like, underneath him, Zerline, McQuaid, like
his
Johnny
guys.
Hecker, Anger, his guys. Like, right there. He's got kid. I think kids, then them. So he could have another kick that kicks all the way to San Diego. That one was looking like it was going to go.
Well, but and I agree with you. He clearly has his guys. Like, he remodeled the special teams room to look like the LA Rams in the span of 1 year. But if Zerline has another game like that, like they already and Zerline even said, he was like, I don't blame him for bringing in another kicker. Why wouldn't you after what I did?
Yeah.
So that if he has another game like that, that's a decision that goes beyond
that goes
the
beyond
special
the
teams
coach.
coordinator.
Right, yeah.
All right, he'll understand that.
Real quick before we end the show, give me your picks for the week, Dave.
You can make me go first.
I'll go.
Yeah,
I mean, I had to pick just a second ago. I'm back and forth on this one. I really am. I did a little research on games that you're like the start first 2 games of the season on the road. And usually it's 1-1. It typically is, and it's like you need it so bad if you lose, and if sometimes when you win that first game, you just don't. You kind of come back to earth a little bit. So all that being said, I do think. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think the Cowboys find a way. I'm still reminding myself it's going to be almost a 50-50 split, so it's not so much going to be a road game.
Right.
I think the Cowboys will find a way, and it'll be because number 4. I think Dak will play well. He'll get that offense rolling. I think that they figure out ways to get turnovers again, and they win it. Score, it'll be high scoring. I'm going to say they win it 30-26.
Okay.
I don't remember the last time I felt so conflicted about a game. I go back and forth, and my overall logic is I'm like, Dak. If you're gonna win, you just trust Dak to drag you over the finish line, and I think he's good enough to do that. And I know this is not scientific, and I'm sorry for that, but this should not be a game that everybody that works for us picks the Cowboys to win. Like, this is going to be a tough game, toss up. Chargers are favored. I know they're going to be a lot of Cowboys fans, but they're still opening up their stadium. You get it. And I just, with that in the back of my head, I'm like, I'll pick the Chargers just because, somebody should, they're not going to play the New York Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, this is a good team that has a lot of advantages in terms of who the Cowboys don't have available. I won't be surprised at all if the Cowboys find a way to pull it out, but I'll take the Chargers 35-31. And I won't be surprised if the Cowboys have to kick a field goal in the red zone because that is still not 100% tightened up, and the Chargers score a touchdown instead, and that's the difference.
Right. I just laugh because it's like if Amber was here and it was like I'm picking Chargers, and I said Chargers, and he said Chargers.
I would pick the Cowboys.
So that's how close it is.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not a scientific way to pick a game, but something just doesn't sit right with me when this is, everything in the world says this is a toss-up, and we're just all like Cowboys. Yeah. That's not a realistic way to look at this.
I think we all agree this is going to be a tough game, and it's probably going to come down to a last possession, I would guess, because I think both these teams are somewhat evenly matched. If you look at them, like their offenses both can do some pretty remarkable remarkable thing. So I think it's going to be a shootout. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think the Cowboys get the win, 34-31. And I think Cowboys will go to 1-1. Chargers will go to 1-1. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back next week. We'll let you know what went right and what went wrong for the Cowboys. So then, for Nick Eatman, Dave Hellman, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.